The bottom is out of the tub. Abraham Lincoln, August 17th, 1861. The war, which looked like it had been going so well for the Union, seems to be turning. Just a few weeks before, Richmond, the Confederate capital in the American Civil War, had been taken by a brilliant flanking maneuver by Robert Patterson's corps out of the valley. He had marched all the way down the length of the Shenandoah Valley, flanked Richmond from the west, and took the city in triumph. Just a few weeks later, his troops were ejected after a series of defeats. Then General Irvin McDowell's main force, the Army of Northeastern Virginia, advanced to try and retake the capital. A huge battle was fought near Richmond. Almost 40,000 troops. 6,000 of them would become casualties. But at the end of the day, the Union was thrown back in disarray. The Congress of the United States is calling for Irvin McDowell's head. He had won several small victories at Manassas and Fredericksburg, but each time he had a considerable advantage in manpower. This was his first near-run thing, and it was a disaster. A full brigade was surrendered to the enemy. Almost 1,000 men were killed. The 3,000 casualties, of which 1,000 were killed, another 1,000 surrendered. And as a result, despite the fact that the Confederates also suffered a nearly identical casualty figure, they would get a larger percentage of those troops back. None of that really matters to Congress, though, who's out for blood. Patterson is remaining in command largely because of his initial flanking maneuver being so brilliant. McDowell had no such brilliant triumph, and as a result, he's going to be fired. But who will Lincoln replace him with? Well, that answer would have likely been Patterson had he not suffered his own reverse at Yorktown and Richmond. And so Lincoln has to look west for someone famous, someone successful, someone that will appease the Congress. The answer appears to be obvious. George B. McClellan, commander of the Department of the Ohio, commander of the forces in West Virginia, victors of the Battle of First and Second Wheeling. The Battle of Second Wheeling, very recent, a decisive affair inflicting more than 3,000 losses on the enemy, suffering fewer than 500 of his own. Some in Congress compared Wheeling to Austerlitz. Others have compared it to Ulm, both of these comparisons being ludicrous. A small enemy force suffering a few thousand casualties, and in both cases, McClellan failed to pursue the enemy army. In one case, after First Wheeling, he actually had to withdraw due to poor supplies and logistics. If this failure to pursue represents some sort of weakness or inability to fight decisively, only time will tell. Lincoln, for the moment anyway, has his man. Hello everybody, it's the Historical Gamer once again, and today we're returning to Grand Tactician, the Civil War. This is a upcoming grand strategy and tactical war game, which will be coming out on September 24th of this year, so a little bit less than a month away. This is part number 13 of our Let's Play series, playing as the Union, and that's sort of the situation that just has unfolded recently. The Union Army outside of Richmond, driven back to Fredericksburg. Two Union armies, about 30,000 men total, are located near Fredericksburg, and they're really draining the supply depots. We've got a level 3 depot here, and if we take a look, you can see artillery ammo, almost none, 2.5 artillery ammo, almost no small arms ammunition, only 6.3. If you look at like the Harper's Ferry depot, which is a level 1 depot, small arms ammo is over 500. So you can see we have consumed the ammunition and the artillery ammunition from the depot at Alexandria, from the depot at Manassas, and from the depot down at Fredericksburg as a result of several of the battles that we've been fighting lately. And so we'll probably have to pause for a bit because our army down here, its morale is panicked. Its disabled forces are about 1/5 of their total forces, and it has very little provisions in terms of food. Its ammunition complement is below 80% rifle ammo. And the Department of Pennsylvania, while confident, is currently also reforming, and it has less than 100% ammunition as well. So both these forces here not in great shape. Now, as you would have guessed from that intro, Major General Irvin McDowell is going to be replaced by George B. McClellan. McClellan's popularity and fame is legendary, and so as a result of the Battle of Wheeling, where we did inflict a crushing defeat on the Confederate Army based out of Grafton, we will go ahead and make him the commander of the Army of the Potomac, is what we're going to call it. Now, the question is, who's going to replace McClellan in command of the Department of the Ohio? In our last battle, Brigadier General Ulysses S. Grant performed pretty darn well, and so he actually has, I think, a pretty good level of fame, and I'm basing most of my promotions on fame because I feel like that sort of is a political element of what would get someone promoted or not. So you can see Grant has legendary fame, and he's already a division commander, so he'd be the next one up. Samuel Heinzelman is the other division commander in this army, and he's a rising star, but he's not legendary. Now, Grant's division was the division that really slaughtered the Confederates at Wheeling, and so that would make sense that his fame is so high. And so we're going to go ahead and replace him as a division commander. But the question is, who are we going to replace him with? We have a couple of options if we want to do it internally, but really there's two options. There's Colonel Israel B. Richardson, who was a very well-regarded commander. I think he was called Old Dick or Spotted Dick or something like that. He died at Antietam historically. And he has one experienced star and legendary fame. The other option is Colonel George G. Meade, who was also famous from that last battle at Wheeling, although he has not quite the level of fame of Richardson. And so I guess that means we're going to make Richardson the commander of Grant's division. We'll move Grant up into McClellan's spot, and we'll move McClellan east. So we're going to go ahead and have to replace Richardson with someone. So if we go ahead and do the replace commander option, let's take a look. Who would we replace him with? We have some generals who are experienced. Charles Griffin, I think, was a pretty successful officer historically. He's currently a lieutenant. We've got a bunch of captains to choose from as well. We could go with Franklin, who's not a terribly inspiring figure. A lot of these guys, like, whatever. I don't know. I don't know most of the names of anybody who's like above a captain. Like these, the older folks or the higher ranking folks are kind of old too. So I think we'll go with, I guess, William B. Franklin. He's got decent fame, leadership, and administration. So we'll go with Franklin. He'll become a colonel. And then that's going to allow us to move Richardson into Grant's spot. Okay. And then now that Richardson is a brigadier general, that's going to free us up to move Grant into McClellan's spot as a major general. And then we're going to move McClellan east to command the Army of Northeastern Virginia, although we are going to change that name of that army. So McDowell is going to be replaced, unfortunately for him, by George B. McClellan, a major general in the Army. And so McClellan now commands the Army of Northeastern Virginia. We're going to rename that. The Army of the Potomac. And then I guess, like, we probably don't want to just shunt McDowell off nowhere, like to nothing, right? So we'd probably want him to be a division commander at least. I don't have the option to do corps commanders yet. But it looks like all my division commanders have pretty good reputations. So maybe we'll have to hold off on giving him any kind of major command at the moment. And McDowell can cool his heels, I guess. So with 3 infantry divisions with 3 artillery batteries, we probably need to raise a replacement cavalry regiment in the army as well, since we did lose the 1 cavalry regiment routed. And then we did lose an infantry brigade, but we still have 3 brigades per division, which seems fair. So I think we'll go ahead and raise 1 more cavalry unit for Buford. It'll be from Maine, let's say. And there'll be 12-monthers. And we don't have any other weapons for them right now, just mixed cavalry weapons, so that's what they're going to get stuck with. That'll help replace some of our losses. And the cavalry brigade can be commanded by... We can go with a cavalry commander. We can look for someone who's actually specializes in cavalry. So we could go with Sturgis, we could go with Baird, we could go with George Armstrong Custer, who's probably a little bit young for the command at the moment. I don't know who any of these guys are. Like none of these names ring a bell. Alfred Gibbs. Good administrator, distinguished, 38-year-old. Sure. Okay. Now, the Army of Northeastern Virginia is going to have to stay here for a little bit. One of the really good things about McClellan, McDowell was not a great administrator, and so our readiness was always pretty low for the Army. But I'm hoping that the Army will get their readiness to go up. Also, their morale immediately went from panicked to unstable. So that seems to be a pretty quick change. Which is cool. Okay. Meanwhile, the Department of Pennsylvania's 12,000 men. What's their army makeup at the moment? Do I want to take one of these brigades and move them? We could raise another infantry brigade for these guys. We'll do that. We'll raise another brigade under Count Keam. Connecticut troops, why not? We'll go 2,200 soldiers, I think. That's usually the brigade size I like. And where's Ferry? Is that Casey guy? We go with Hatch. I recognize that name. Or Wilcox. And we'll go with Wilcox. All right, so now we've got 4 brigades in each division, and then we've got 2 batteries of artillery. We're going to go ahead and create a new command. Irvin McDowell, I feel bad for you. I don't want to make you a division commander of artillery. Let's do an artillery officer. Henry Burton. Charles Sanford is a major general of artillery. We'll do Burton. His leadership is backwards. No, I don't want to do that then. Passive, liked, skilled administrator. We'll do him. Okay, and then we'll move these artillery batteries underneath him. 1 battery per division. And we didn't really create any new units so much as we created an artillery reserve. Okay. Artillery reserve, 1st and 2nd divisions. All right, I need to rename some of these brigades. So a bunch of these brigades are named after the commander, and then for the other brigades, they're named something completely unrelated. So I guess we'll go with, you know what, let's I guess we'll just name it after the commanders. Although that's going to make it hard to keep guys straight in terms of like their long-term success or failure. All right, we'll go with the 1st battery, 2nd battery. All right. Okay, so new unit being raised in that army. That'll be another 2,200 soldiers. the Department of Pennsylvania. That'll get them up to about 15,000, just shy. The Army of the Potomac will be at about 20,000 when it's fully raised. And then hopefully some of those disabled troops will return to our ranks as well. I don't want to spend too much money because my economic situation is in pretty rough shape right now. We'll also work on, I think I already told this, yeah, this depot's upgrading. Be done in 8 days. That'll help the supply situation, hopefully. We still have the Army of the Valley sort of bottling up near the south of Cumberland. And then I think Grant's army is going to move south. So their supply situation's okay, I guess. 65 provisions. Rifle ammo is only at 50% after that bloody battle. But let's go to Grafton. You're Ulysses S. Grant. You're not going to be passive. So let's go to Grafton. Why would they march all the way that way? Why don't you march down this roadway? All right, so we'll do that. Take the Army of the Ohio under Buell. Move them back to Point Pleasant. How soon till those troops that we're raising there are ready? 10 days still? 17 days? I don't know that I want to wait. So we'll order him to move right away. Meanwhile, the Army of Kentucky under Edwin Sumner. He's going to have to wait for his troops to form up to retake southern Kentucky. And then Missouri, we're largely just leaving things as they are. Okay. Our ships on the river are still under construction. You can see they're about 80% complete. So they're working, they're getting close, but they're still not ready to sail the rivers yet. Okay. Maybe we take the Army of the Valley and go take New Orleans at some point, but I think that's the situation that we're going to push forward with. Oh shit. The Army of the Shenandoah is moving up the valley. How many troops do they have? 11,000 men. Well, Kenley, you're going to have to double back and intercept these guys, and we're probably going to have a battle here. You're going to be outnumbered. Who's all in your army? So you've got 4 brigades of infantry under James Cooper, John Wool, Sylvester Churchill, and Peter Lyle, and 1 battery of artillery under William Smith. Let's make sure all these guys have decent weapons. Good news, only one of them has mixed muskets, and we'll upgrade them to Springfield muskets. Okay. It's going to be, well, we might be on the defensive, so that could be okay. Man, they're moving up the valley quick. Are they on trains? Like, look at how fast they're fucking moving. Jackson's Foot Cavalry, maybe? Well, it says they're on trains. Where are they taking their trains to? Are they invading the north? Okay, they should not be able to take trains through the north. Are they really invading the north? All right, I guess Patterson's division. We'll leave McClellan down here to guard. Fredericksburg, and we're going to pull Patterson back via rail. They are in the north. Oh, shit. They've taken Hagerstown. I'm never going to catch them on foot. Oh my God. kind of silly how they can move up through Union-held territory via rail. Also, Western Maryland doesn't have great railways. Like, where the hell are they now? Oh shit, they're moving that way. Oh, god damn it. No, move to the Cumberland Gap via rail. Could they be moving toward Pittsburgh, or are they going to double back and try and get back into... I'm chasing them all over. Yeah, so I can't move that way via rail. I don't have railways, do I? Why is Grant not moving? Didn't I order you to move, sir? Alright, never mind. Grant, cancel your movement. Oh, this is such a cluster. I want to make sure he doesn't get toward Pittsburgh unopposed. So Grant's going to move east along this roadway. I don't have any garrison at Washington, by the way. What is this army of the Shenandoah? 12,000 men? Who's in command of it? Is it still Johnston? Yep, Joseph Johnston, 12,000 men versus my 8,000 men of the Army of the Valley. Let's go ahead and fight it. The Battle of Cumberland, Maryland, August 29th, 1861. After initial skirmishing and maneuver, the opposing armies are deploying for battle. I don't have any cavalry in this force. So apparently it's the... Oh, shit. God damn it, I clicked a button without deploying my troops. Well, we'll get marching. Could have gotten them closer, but... So we're going to fight on the Antietam battlefield map, since I guess that's the closest battlefield. It's already 1,500 hours, so very possible no fighting occurs today. Looks like my troops all have a full complement of ammunition as far as I can tell, which is good. Weird that we're going to be approaching the Confederates from the southern edge of the Antietam battlefield rather than east or west, I feel like. But all right, let's jump ahead till when I find these guys. You guys don't need to watch me run around. Okay, boys. Well, we found them. Our army's a little bit broken up, but John Wool here just detected the Confederate troops, which appear to be blocking the lower bridge here on the Antietam map. It's 1827 hours, so we really only have an hour or so left of daylight, but you can see the Rebs are dug in here and some good entrenchments just on the opposite side of this lower bridge. Wow, okay. Burnside's bridge, I believe, actually. You can see they've got two infantry brigades are in entrenchments as well as an artillery battalion. They also have some skirmishers deployed, and then at least one brigade of troops in reserve in a cornfield behind a fence line. So the enemy is in good defensive terrain. Our troops are a little bit broken up and divided. Wool's brigade's going to have to hopefully halt before they get drawn into an engagement, while I'm going to try and have the rest of my troops form up to the north of the enemy formation, and we'll go from there. Not sure whether we'll see any battle today or whether it's going to be delayed. It looks like they also have some cavalry, maybe some... It looks like Jackson has a brigade. Enemy artillery's opened up here on the 5th Brigade under Wool, who for some stupid reason is still marching toward the enemy. Although at least now it looks like he's halted. How about you withdraw, sir? Getting pounded by enemy guns. My own troops are deploying to the north, so we may turn the Rebs out of their positions. Part of the problem is my commander's all the way over here, so we can't effectively issue orders down to Wool down here. Wool's troops, meanwhile, are facing troops that are dug in, they're cut off, and they're outflanked. It does look like the advice arrived, and so they are pulling back to this wood line. They've taken a few casualties, but nothing too disastrous. Their morale's not in great shape. We'll also give them the order for long-range fire. They might be able to skirmish with the enemy out there. Meanwhile, my own troops are deploying here. I think we've got about an hour left of daylight. You can see my artillery's forming up here, and the infantry is streaming across. So we've got 3 brigades of infantry up here to the north, 1 battalion of artillery. And then Wool's brigade is apparently unstable, but at least they're pulled back to a little bit of safety. They'll still get bombarded, but meanwhile the enemy is shifting some troops to the north. Looks like they're bringing de Rossi's brigade north and shifting Rockbridge's artillery and Stuart's cavalry. My own artillery's starting to form up. My infantry's coming into position as well. My division commanders forward here. Oh shit. They broke? Just from enemy artillery you lost 14 casualties and you broke? Goddamn cowards. It's not a great start. So much for any force pinning the enemy in position. Give them long-range orders. Of the troops in the north, the 2 brigades on each flank have rifled muskets. The center brigade has smoothbores. So the enemy artillery is pulling back. Rockbridge's battalion. Alright. Let's have our army commander, I guess. Can he try and rally? Go be a hero, sir. Rally those men. Meanwhile, let McCall and the other boys do this on their own. They're idle? They're not shooting at anything? Oh no, they're still shooting. Alright, so we are trying to flank the enemy now. We are outnumbered. Let's go engage this enemy battalion of artillery here. They've taken a few casualties already at the hands of my own guns. We are in contact, boys. Rockbridge's artillery battery is routed. 69 casualties on that opening volley. I don't know what the enemy troops in this sector have in terms of their weapons, but hopefully we outrange them. Doesn't look like we do. Some of the enemy infantry is shooting back anyway. Casualties. And I'm going to have the 2nd Brigade extend over to the left. I don't have much time till nightfall. Looks like visibility is getting worse already. Artillery's continuing to pound the enemy. Couple of volleys we're going to get off at least. 46 casualties so far here by Churchill's brigade that they've taken. Not sure where the enemy brigade was that was in the open, but there they are, boys. A little with their backs to the enemy. It looks like they're backing into them. It's weird. At the double, boys, before the nightfall. How did they disappear again? I'm very confused. Jackson's brigade's losing a little bit. Cooper's brigade not much. Churchill's brigade is losing a fair amount of men. Why is the line of sight so bad? Also, 2nd Brigade's taking casualties but can't shoot back? Like, the enemy's hidden apparently? But firing volleys. Well, this is a mess. Like, oh, you can't see them, but you're getting wrecked by the enemy brigades. Volley fire. All right, there you go. Nice volley by the 5th Brigade into Jackson's boys. Some volleys by the 2nd also. I think we're losing worse than we're given, though. Jackson is behind defense line. Oh, me. All my assaults into the enemy just never come to anything. Send a small detachment over here on this artillery. Maybe you can fire some canister into the boys. Man, those guns, boys. Fire some point-blank canister into them. All right, 230, 130. All right, so Jackson is losing pretty heavily. These troops aren't going to last long. They just get a single round of canister off. They'll probably do some pretty worthwhile damage here, but I'm not even sure they're going to do that. Oh, they didn't even fire canister. Well, maybe that was the artillery back here. That was their airburst or something. Okay, so Wool's brigade is recovered now. So let's bring them up also. They're not going to get there in time, but it looks like they were rallied by our commander. So get going, boys. Get back into the fight. It's going to be just the manpower I need. We've lost about 500 men here. Jackson's brigade has lost over 800. So we shattered Jackson's brigade there. They're routed and withdrawing. The enemy crossed Burnside's bridge. DeRoyce's brigade. Meanwhile, our fire is shifting, I think, to Cooper's brigade now. Jackson's men have lost over 900 men. It is just in front of 2100 hours. Artillery continues to pound away at the enemy. There we go. We're getting some point-blank fire into these enemy troops that are dug in. Cooper's brigade, they've lost over 100 men now. 600 between those two brigades, another 200 there, so about just shy of 900 through my 3 brigades that are in action at the moment. Says Wool is in contact. I guess he's firing at Cooper from range. Oh, we're getting hit by Stuart's cavalry. Why don't you shoot at targets that you can actually hit? Looks like they're dismounted. It's got to be close to the end of the day's fighting. But Cooper's boys are in good positions here. Alright, that's the end of the day. So our troops were resupplied, and in the middle of the night, it looks like 28% supplies come into the 5th Brigade. They are going into the next day's fight with 48 rounds ammo, 48 for Wool, 50 for Cooper. Okay, so I'm guessing the enemy's going to pull back from this position. I would guess. Okay. The question is where they're going to pull back to. Are they going to withdraw to our rear to Sharpsburg? Or are they going to stay stuck on this entrenchment line that they have here? So let's I guess just deploy us in a nice single line. With our artillery in the middle and the creek on our flank. These two abandoned guns, I guess we don't get to keep overnight. All right, so let's see what the Rebs are going to do. So the Rebs pulled back to a new defensive position, oddly with their flank almost in the air again. But the one frustrating thing I will say is, like, attacking enemy trenches kind of sucks, which makes sense. But what I mean by that is it sucks because it seems like the entrenchments, even if you flank them, are not really ineffective. In any event, Churchill and Wool's brigade are on the 2nd Division's front. Let's swing the map around here. Oh, we do get the detached guns. Hell yeah. All right, let's bombard Gregg's brigade, which seems to be on the end of the Confederate line and not in the entrenchments. Cooper and Lyle's lost worse, I think. So we've lost 823 men in McCall's division, 342 in Crittenden's. So we're going to use Crittenden to flank the enemy position here. And then we'll have the 2nd Brigade move behind these fences here while we keep the artillery in action. All right, so the artillery bombardment has begun. We're going to try and pound Gregg's flank because he's not in a trench. We're going to try and... All right, let's pause. So it's 600 hours. It's 6 a.m. Shifting our line. And then we're going to take Crittenden's division up. Sometimes I love the snapping feature on entrenchments, but sometimes it would be nice to ignore it. Like, you're not going to use a fence that exposes your flank. So don't do that. Okay. All right, we'll move at ×2 speed here. Kenley, you're going to be under fire, but that's fine. Move our artillery a little bit closer. I'm in this cornfield here. So the enemy flank brigade is pulling back. Well, I guess this fence line will be a nice position then. See if we can get in behind the rear of the enemy. I think, does this artillery have to move by man, like men pushing it, or do some of them get guns? I wasn't sure about the captured ones. It looks like, or horses. Looks like the captured ones still get horses. Keep moving forward, lads. We're still set to long range fire, so that's good, I think. Open fire on these damn artillery pieces, guys. There you go. Got to get rid of these guns. That's my first priority, is get rid of this enemy artillery battery, and then we'll focus on Greg's brigade, which doesn't seem to be shooting back yet. Oh, no, not there. Or maybe not. I guess they're not. Again, I appreciate the AI moving. That seems like the smart thing for them to do. Weird position that they took, though. Like, I like that they anchored it on a river. That was smart. But it's almost like they reformed their position with an exposed flank, which seemed a little silly to me. All right, 5th Brigade, advance so you can take advantage of that fence line. Ah, oh, who's wounded? Churchill's wounded. Not Churchill. I don't know if I've seen a commander killed yet. They can be, but I don't know if I've seen it happen yet. These guys firing. It says they are. Right, Churchill's boys are on a fence. So apparently our Greg's troops, I guess technically their flank is in an entrenchment. Oh, Churchill's brigade's gonna get shredded, isn't it? God, I wish these guys would move up a little bit more quickly. They're just marching along the fence line, so they're constantly disrupted. This guy's really firing? So we routed that enemy artillery battalion. These guys definitely don't seem to be firing. I don't want you on the train. Move behind Churchill, because Churchill's brigade's going to break for sure. Greg and Churchill seem to be actually taking about the same amount of casualties right now. But Churchill's already lost a lot more men. It does look like Wool's troops did just fire off a volley, though. What I'm curious about, and I don't know how the game treats it, is if part of the brigade is in an entrenched position, but not the whole thing, like most of this brigade looks like they're in the open, does the entire brigade get credit for the defensive position? I think they do, based on what I'm seeing. It'd be cool if they didn't. Now we're gonna move Smoothbores, 2nd Brigade under Cooper forward here. Maybe they can take a little bit of pressure off. Actually, that makes me curious. Maybe we just move Churchill forward slightly, although his troops may break if we try and move them. But I'm wondering if we move them into the trench, if they'd be like, protected from fire. I'm hoping if I move the 2nd Brigade forward, they'll eat the fire, and if I can get them into this trench line, as silly as that may be, they'll be protected. Doesn't seem to be protecting him, though, at the moment. They're definitely in that trench line. I don't know why they wouldn't be protected. Gregg's brigade's up to 344. Churchill's brigade is still eager. Maybe you can shift to the left so you got a better field of fire. Artillery is still shooting at them. Well, they didn't last long. Both of those brigades routed. Okay, well, this is about to be a defeat, I think. Rally, boys! Where are they running to? They're running off the whole map? I think they're pulling back to here. Okay, 5th Brigade's at 145. Gregg's at 420. 5th Brigade has 1,200 fewer muskets. We need to get the other 5th Brigade into action to help them out. I think these guys are routing from the field permanently. Doesn't look like there's anywhere there's gonna stop. They're gonna stop. I don't blame them too much. Their commander got killed or wounded, and they took very heavy casualties. Meanwhile, we've got the 1,900 rifles of Lyle's brigade in action now. So Gregg is taking some punishment. Gregg's taking punishment. Wool should be in some decent cover in this wood line. Over 500. This would be, what, the 3rd Brigade we would have routed? And we've also routed 2 batteries of artillery. Trying to get the 2nd Brigade back in it, although they have lost over 500 men also. These guys don't want to stop. This artillery, in theory, is also firing down the enemy flank. I think Wool has taken slightly worse punishment than Gregg is. 600 versus 340, 350. How much ammo do we have left? 21 rounds and 44 rounds. We got about 3,000 muskets on the firing line versus 2,300 for the enemy. So, like, I would think the AI would march up some of these other brigades holding these positions to try and help out. Even if we drive this enemy brigade back, we're almost certainly not going to win the battle. But I mean, they've still got at least 2 more fresh brigades. I don't have the ammo to keep this going. Only 200 muskets on the line. There's 3,000. Wool is low on ammo. We don't have any depots around this area either. Over 800 casualties now for Gregg's brigade, though. Maybe if we can make it to the end of the day, we withdraw in the night. There's no, like, supply option, right? $60 rounds is not a lot of ammo for a day's fighting. Yeah. All right, Wool's down to 14 rounds. Almost 600 casualties on his part. Greg's approaching 900. 2100 versus 2800. And there he goes. Wool's brigade is routed. And the battle's a defeat. Makes sense. We've only got one brigade still fighting. We'll let the 5th Brigade slug it out with Greg for the next 10 minutes, and maybe they'll break him. He's already lost almost a third of his strength. They are now outnumbered, though, on the firing line. And they can't see him anymore, apparently. Can we get him to 1,000 casualties at least? We did take some guns. I don't get to carry that over, though. They don't become like a new permanent battery. Blazing away with our small arms weapons. Alright, there you go. We did inflict 1,000 casualties on him. So it looks like we lost about 2,300 troops to 1,300 enemy troops, although we only lost 1 of 15 guns. They lost 25. They lost their entire artillery section as well as 35 cavalry. So they came to a total of 2,600 casualties between the 3 batteries of artillery that we routed, which actually ends up giving us the slight edge in terms of losses, although I suspect the killed and wounded far worse on our end. I gotta say, the last 2 battles that I've fought, the AI's dug in and defended competently. I don't know if it's just because the defensive bonuses are so huge when they're in entrenchments. I don't know if there's a way to win that. I'm not sure. Colonel Cooper's fallen into disgrace. Well, the enemy army in Maryland wins a victory against us on Union soil. Fortunately, it's only a minor victory. $324 killed versus 332 on ours and 354 missing. Grant is marching east, and the Department of Pennsylvania is swinging in west to try and crush this rebel force. But I think that'll be time for another day. Confederate invasions. Well, our national morale and support are good. The morale of the armies is better on their end. We've now lost 4 battles. They've won 4. 27,000 Confederate casualties to 17,000 Union so far. But the war seems to be swinging back in the Confederate hands. I don't like that they just like magically jumped past an army of ours into our rear into the Union. That, I don't know. That's a little bit whack-a-mole-y. I'm curious where they're going to retreat, though, because Grant or someone's going to beat them. Why are these guys unhappy? I don't understand that. Like, what makes them unhappy? I don't think it's Grant. Also, when do I get better weapons? I need better fucking weapons. What's our policy situation? 5 days till we get those policies unlocked, and thank God then we can use them on longer term troops. But yeah, that's going to do it for today's episode. Hope you guys did enjoy Confederate invasion of the North and another defeat by yours truly. With that being said, until next time, this is the Historical Gamer. As always, saying once again, thank you very much for watching, and until next time, I'm out.